All right, so for this section, we're going to go over greatest common factor and then how to find a common multiple. For greatest common factor, what we need to be able to do is build off a skill that we learned the day before, which was finding prime factorization. So to find a greatest common factor, a number that the biggest number that goes into both numbers of two numbers, or you can do it with 3, 4, it doesn't matter. But the biggest number that these have in common that can be divided into those numbers is what the greatest common factor is. Step 1 is to write out the prime factorization of the numbers, and then step 2 is multiply the common numbers together. So it makes more sense as we work through this together. So I'm going to work on the prime factorization of 22 and 44. So when I do 22, that's even, so I know I can divide it by 2. 22 divided by 2 gives me 11. So 22, the prime factorization is 2 and 11 because we know that 11 is also a prime number. All right, so now the prime factorization of 44 that we're going to work on, I would start with a 2 because we know that that is an even number. So 44 divided by 2 gives us 22. So 2 and 22. And now we break down 22, and that would be, we already did it over here, 2 and 11. So I'm going to write down my prime factorization here. We have 2 2's, and we have an 11. So this was part 1. I just did step 1 there, where I wrote out the prime factorization of each numbers. Step 2 now says multiply the common prime numbers together. So we need to see between both of these numbers what they have in common. So what I like to do is kind of circle them. See, I have a 2 in each one, and I have an 11 in each one. So I have 2 times 11, all right, and that equals 22. So my answer would be 22. I'm not writing down 2 2's and 2 11's. I'm just writing down the common number that we have in there to be able to bring out. All right, so we're going to practice one more. We're going to find the greatest common factor of, let's do 25 and 56. All right, so what we're going to do is we are going to break down the prime factorization of each of these. So again, I'm going to look over here. Now 25 is not an even number, so I might start with 3. 25 divided by 3. Nope, that doesn't work. 25 divided by, I'll go to my next odd number, which will be 5. Of course, we know that it is 5 times 5. So the prime factorization of 25 is 5 times 5. Now I'm going to work out 56. 56 is even, so I'm going to start with 2. So we have 2 and 28. All right, so then I'm going to divide 28 because that's 2. I'm going to do that by 2 again. So divide by 2 gives me 14. I'm going to divide this by 2 because that's also even. That is 2 and 7. So my prime factorization of 56 is a 2, a 2, a 2, and a 7. So 2, 2, 2, and 7. All right, now you notice about this, there is no common prime factorizations within this. So for this case, the answer would just be 1 as our greatest common factor, because that's the only number that goes in evenly to both of them. So in this case, it didn't work out. We did not have a common factor within those two numbers, which can happen. All right, we'll do one more example. So I'm going to do 128 and 104. So a little bit bigger numbers, but again, it's all about breaking it down with that calculator. Let's start with 128. And notice that that is even. So let's divide by 2. Boom. 2, 64. I'm dividing 64 by 2 because it's still even. 2, 32. Oops. 2, 32. Let's clean that up a bit. 2 and 32. Still even. Divided by 2. 2 and 16. divided by 2 again. This is nice when they're even. We just keep dividing by 2. 2 and 8. Divide that by 2. We have 2 and 4. And then that is 2 and 2. Okay, lots of 2s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 2s. Oh my goodness. So I'm going to write those down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's my 128. All right, I'm going to do this in a different color. So let's break down 104. We know that it's even. So let's divide it by 2. 52. 2 and 52. Divide that by 2. 26. Still even, so we can keep going. This is nice. 2 and 13. Now we see that 13 is a prime number. So 104 is 3 2s and a 13. All right, so now what do they have in common? They have 1 2, 2 2s, and 3 2s. So 2 times 2 times 2 is going to be our GCF. 2 times 2 times 2 equals 8. That would be our GCF. All right, so that's how we find the greatest common factor. Now, the next part that we're going to cover is finding a common multiple. And you could find a least common multiple, which is similar to finding a greatest common factor. But what I want you guys to know is just how to find a common multiple. All right, so I'm going to start with a least common multiple. That would be if a multiple, if we're counting by that number. So 24, 48, so multiples of 24, multiples of 30. Where's the first number they have in common in their sequence? All right, so the way we do that is to break down, again, the prime factorization. So 24 divided by 2. So I'm going to do that because this is our first step, PF. So 2 and 12. 12 is an even number, so I'm dividing that by 2. So we have 2 and 6. And then 6, we can divide that by 2. It's still even. We have 2 and 3. 2 and 3. So we have 2, 2, 2, and 3. That's 24. All right, I'm breaking down 30 now. 30 is an even number, so let's start with 2. Whenever we start with 2 and we use our smallest prime number, it kind of does a nice cascade waterfall, and I think it's easier to read. So we have 2 and 15. We're going to break down 15. 15 divided by 2 does not come out as a whole number. So let's do 15 divided by 3. So that would be our next number in the sequence, and we have 3 and 5. All right, so that for 30, the prime factorization is 2 times 3 times 5. All right, so that was step 1, right out the prime factorization. Now bring down all the common pairs. So if we look at this, the common pairs that we have a 2, so I'm writing that over here, and we have a 3. So 2 times 3 would be our first common pair. All right, so that's step 2. Step 3 would then bring down all factors not in common. So we have another 2, and a 5. So times 2 times 2 times 5. All right, and then our final step is to multiply that all together. So I do 2 times 3 times 2 times 2 times 5. That gives me 120. So that would be my least common multiple. If I listed out all my factors of 24 and all my factors of 30, the first number they have in common is 120. This is good for when we get into fraction practice, but also I think an easier way, because this seems like a lot of work, is just to find a common multiple between the two numbers. All right, so how we're going to do that is just you take your two numbers and you multiply them together, because obviously if you multiply them together, that number can go into each of those that many times. So I can just take 24 and 30, multiply them together, and that gives me 720. As we start working through this, if you do the least common multiple first, chances are your answer will be reduced. But if you just find the common multiple first, you'll have to reduce your answer at the end. Personally, the way that we're going to be working with calculators, finding a common multiple is the way that I would suggest going, but I want to show you both methods.